to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Keys to the City. I am Trevor Keys alongside the duo, the Joseph Aguirre and Ted Keys III. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What a day it is to be living on the East Coast. Why do I say the East Coast? Because yes, ladies and gentlemen, the East Coast was dominated last night in round one, but an overall great night for sports. The NBA playoffs, we are down to the divisional rounds. Tonight, we got game possible 7 in the works with the T-Wolves against the Grizzlies. So we'll see how that goes. Plus, baseball fans, the Yankees and Mets are right now currently 1-2 record-wise. Wow, wow, wow. If you're a New York fan, you are a happy fan today because let's start off with it. That's what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. Round one is in the books. All the rumors, all the reports, well, it's all over with. We are down to now round 2 and 3 tonight, and then we'll have 4 and 7 tomorrow. But let's talk about the East Coast. Before we get into the rest of the NFL draft last night, I think it's time that we have to start. Or let's be real. We're Giant fans, and there are Jet fans that watch us. There are New York fans that watch us. We have to start with the New York football teams because last night, let's be honest, that was just a home run. It was a grand slam for both teams. And I want to specifically talk about the New York Giants first. To me, the word that comes to mind very, very simply is competence. When I think of this draft, the first brand new draft, the new era of New York Giant football, with Joe Shane and Brian Dable running the helm, they hit it out of the park. All smoke screens. We all heard, Charles Cross was going to be the pick. They didn't like Kayvon Thibodeau. Didn't like his personality. It was all smoke and screens. And I love that Joe Shane and the Giants kept this under wraps from previous regimes. And that's how I feel about this whole Giant draft. It just felt like we have competency back at the top, where the past couple of years has just been, we know what it's like. Dark cloud after dark cloud, depression, sadness, frustration. It's just gotten to the point of boiling point for the New York football Giants. But last night, we knew what the Giants needed. All we heard about, they were going to get 2 solid picks. Yes, they were trying to trade back, but the New York Giants delivered with pick 5 and 7. And to see that, my only word for you, Ted, is competency at the top of the helm. What do you think after seeing top 5 and 7, how it played out for the New York football Giants, hearing all the rumors? How are you feeling today after New York football Giants home run draft, first round, I should say?
You got to be ecstatic. I mean, we talked about this before when we were just talking about the show, but it's all potential. It's projection. But I think if you were a Giant fan at the beginning of the season or beginning of the college season, like, hey, you're going to get Evan Neal and you're going to get Kayvon Thibodeau, you would be like, do we have the 1st and 2nd pick in the draft? Because that's where you would slot these guys. Now, they could have been 1 and 2. Just, we know how the draft goes. Guys, Trayvon Walker was in a mid-tier guy. And then the last 2 or 3 months, because of a combine, because he ran really fast and he jumps really high, all of a sudden he becomes a number 1 pick. So, that's the game. That's the game we play. I mean, it's not what you do on the field. It's what you do in shorts and a tank top on a field with no other guys. I mean, listen, I'm not knocking the guy Walker. He, like Joe said, he might put a nice 10 to 12-year career. Might never be a Hall of Famer, but he might average 8, 10, 12 sacks a year. Might be 1 or 2 years, hits it right out of the park and becomes, an all-pro. But to be the number 1 pick, you want someone that really stands out. I don't know if he stands out, but I will say this, though. He had 5 teammates go in the first round. So I think it also speaks volume to how well Georgia and that Georgia defense was. And that's not even including their best linebacker, Nakobe Dean, who didn't get selected in the first round, who might be an early second-round selection. So you're talking 6 defensive players from your starting defense that could go in the first 36 picks. I mean, that's incredible. So was he really able to shine for himself when there's so many standouts? I mean, it's really hard to stand out when you're surrounded by superstars. You know what I mean? But for the Giants, You get your right tackle. I don't care who it was. Okay, you even said I don't care who it was. If it was Icky,
I really like. I'm going to say that, Ted. Like Giant fans were going to be all of it's crossed. Look, Giant fans have no room to say anything. We've been god awful for 10 freaking years. If you're a Giant fan, you just want two plug-in pieces going right in and impacting your team and helping overall. I don't care if it was Cross. I don't care if it was Sauce. I don't care if it was Stingley. I didn't care if it was Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson, anybody. We have no right as a New York Giant football franchise right now currently slated in the NFL. We have no right to say, oh, well, I'm not happy about this pick. Well, we've sucked for 10 years. We needed home run hits. I know we got a home run hitter, but no matter what we were going to do, Joe, at this pick or these picks, we were going to get two impact starters.
Well, and here's the thing. You get Thibodeau, right? And you get at 5, and I understand the value, the thought process thinking. First of all, I said it to you. To have all 3 tackles sitting there at 5, you're going, oh, this is beautiful. Pick which one you like. But I'm thinking maybe the Giants thought someone was going to come up to 6 to Carolina to go get Thibodeau.
It was all going to be
knowing that all 3 tackles there and you only have to wait one more pick, you were coming right back. So I think the Giants looked at it, hey, listen, we got all 3 guys. Pick your poison. I mean, I think the Giants would have been happy with either one of them, all right?
Yep.
But would the Giants take it Icky at 7? Maybe. But I would love to know where it'll come out afterwards. I would love to know what the Giants' grades were on these 3 tackles. But listen, what was the biggest need for the Giant fans, right?
Let me get to hold on.
It was an offensive lineman, and it was a pass rusher, and you hit them both out of the park. And Trev, you said it. They are stellar guys. They've been impactful starters the past 3 seasons for their teams, and now it's up to them to live up to the billing in their picks.
Well, Joe, you like Ted was just saying, we thought that the Giants at 7 were going to possibly trade out. I just want to give you some quick facts. Last night, overall, including previous, if I put it all together with all the trades that happened since last year, this draft had a total of 18. But last night specifically, there were 9 trades, the most ever. Plus, first time since 1991, the first 5 picks were all defensive players. Let's remember, this is an offensive league, right? The first 5 picks were defensive players. So, but by the way, the 91 top 6 all failed. So I don't expect that to happen. But you look at this top 7. How you feeling right now if you're a Giant fan?
First of all, I want to say this. Look, the last time the Giants had multiple first-round picks, they underwhelmed in each category.
I 100% agree.
I don't want to give Joe Shane too much credit because he didn't do anything but take the guy that was available to him at the right moment. So let's not.
And he got lucky on the Bears thing.
Joe, that's why I said we have confidence. We have
thank
confidence.
You Bears for trading away because wouldn't the Bears love to have maybe an Evan Neal protecting Justin Fields?
Oh, yeah.
No, you got your Justin Fields. Guess what? Thank you.
Joe,
and
that's why
Evan Neal and we got Thibodeau.
Joe, that's why I said at the word we have competency at the top.
Yeah,
because back then with Gettleman, who knows if he takes these 2 guys?
Going into this offseason, the Giants' biggest weakness, like Teddy just said, was glaring need at defensive end, which is just the cornerstone of the Giants as a franchise, having great pass rushers. That's what they do. And if you're going to play Giants football offensively, that means you probably got a really good offensive line, right? So we already knew going in, those are the 2 greatest needs. To get 2 guys who, and the thing about Thibodeau that I think maybe plays a factor in all this is he made it clear he wanted to be a Giant.
I think that was, yeah. He wasn't gonna admit, he came out and was pretty strong about it, yeah.
For a guy whose maybe work ethic is a little bit questioned or his drive or whatever the question about Thibodeau is, I think putting him on the team he's always wanted to be on. You sent me the video of his reaction to the phone call with Joe Shane. He was ecstatic. He's like, I called it. I prayed on it, right? Did
you see the one with Strahan? Strahan and him have been in contact.
And that's another thing.
Strahan's been working with him.
Dad, I'm so glad you brought that up because Giant fans and people were like, oh, well, I got to tell you this. Yesterday, I coming in, one of my roommates asked, you think the Giants are going to take Thibodeau at one of the picks? And I honestly sat there and I said, I don't think they will because of the personality issues. But then I'm thinking about it, really about like last night. I'm like, personality, defensive ends, Giants. I don't know. They took a guy named Lawrence Taylor. He had a pretty big personality. Not saying that these guys, and then another guy. I don't know if you heard of him. He's on ABC Good Morning. He's all over the world. He's pretty famous now. His name is Michael Strahan. So if you want to say all the personality issues, the Giants are used to having
what personality issues does he really have? Because he's smart?
Because people don't like having a boisterous player being like
we make fun of all the other guys who can't put a sentence together.
I know.
He's articulate. He's able
smart.
to put. He's smart. Who gives a crap? He doesn't have a personality. I don't know where people get off because he's articulate. Because football players are supposed to be dumb people. Because half the guys that talk in the league, unless they're quarterbacks, seem to not be able to put a sentence together. And I'm not trying to be biased or weird, but from a lot else, you ever listen to some of the people? But they're really smart football players, and they're great people. They're just their job.
Teddy, sometimes I don't think some of these guys take school very seriously.
Well, here's the thing: I'm not that articulate either. You know my words. I'm like, listen. Okay.
Ted's favorite word in the book is Y-A, and listen. It's his favorite words. But we also got to remember. We also got to remember that Ted, he has a brain like a Ferrari. But let's talk about the New York Giants.
That's good. I hope he's flying around the corner, around the bend, like a Ferrari, pulling that e-brake, bending under the tackle's arms, and sacking Dak Prescott.
Let's talk about the other New York team, because last year they hit with their quarterback situation. They believe Zach Wilson's going to be the guy. Perfect. Okay. Then you go get Elijah Vera Tucker last year, who I love personally. I thought he was going to be a stud. He turned out to be a pretty solid pro so far. And then this draft, they go Sauce Gardner, to some maybe the best player in this draft. Then you go Garrett Wilson, to some the best receiver, and then trade up and back into the first round and take a guy that I personally loved and wanted the Giants to seriously consider at 7 if it wasn't Thibodeau, was Jermaine Johnson. Now, we don't know why he fell, but to me, you see a guy that's a top 10 talent in this draft to drop to 26 is an absolute steal. So if you're a Jet fan today, oh my God, you have to be ecstatic as well. You get a number 1 corner, which you fill. You needed a number 1 receiver. You filled. You needed edge rusher. You filled. Now you get 2 more picks in the second and third round. You got 2 top 40 picks. So, or maybe they used one of them. I believe they did for that 26 pick. But now they have the 38th pick. You go get an offensive lineman. Bam. Like the Jets just hit on this draft too. So that's why I said this question. Did the East Coast dominate? Because you think of the teams last night. The big winners, guys. The Giants, East Coast. The Jets, East Coast. The Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, they only had 1 draft pick, but they got the most proven guy out of all the players in this draft in A.J. Brown. They have a number 1 receiver. You traded your first-round pick and a bunch of other nonsense to get A.J. Brown. Like, we all thought A.J. Brown was going to be a Titan. He was the 1 receiver we didn't expect to get traded. We thought Deebo Samuel, but A.J. Brown is now a Philadelphia Eagle. The Baltimore Ravens, East Coast. They hit a home run by getting a guy named Kyle Hamilton because he had bad 40 time. You know who also had a bad 40 time as a safety? I think his name was Ed Reed. Got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. He turned out to be a pretty damn good football player. And then you go back to trade, as they always like to. You get possibly the best offensive lineman in this draft to some, in Tyler Linderbaum, which you needed. So you guys, did the East Coast dominate the first round of the draft? I know the top 4 of the top 10 picks were in the Big Apple. But did the East Coast really dominate this draft last night?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, 5 of the top 10 picks in this draft are in New York. And I think you could argue, and I think in a few years, the argument might be made that the 5 best players in this draft all end up in New York. I mean, that's I really do. I think the 5 guys, I think with Neal and Thibodeau, Gardner, Johnson and Wilson. Yeah, I mean, I think you could legit.
Who's to say they can't?
Best case scenario, everybody's hitting on all cylinders. Again, let's assume now. Here's the thing: I think if you're the Jets, going into this season, and as this season plays out, there's always a little bit of question about Zach Wilson. And they've done a great job of just putting together a really great roster and a lot of talent around this guy.
Yeah.
And I think just like with the Giants, but in obviously a different situation because he's going into his second year, you're really going to get a good sense of whether either one of these New York quarterbacks is a star.
Well, we already know Daniel Jones got the option declined yesterday. That was also a big note for the Giants.
Yeah, it is, but it's not, right?
It's not shocking.
Listen, because if he doesn't play well, we all want this to be over, and it would be for the best. And if he's going to stay, either going to sign him to a long-term deal or you're going to franchise him, and you'll see how how that year works out. Yeah. So I think from a Giants standpoint, I think you're in great shape. It's funny when they exercise Dexter Lawrence's, and all of a sudden now he's an all-pro superstar, borderline Hall of Famer. And it's like, all right, guys.
Yeah, relax.
2 weeks ago, you were like, hey, a nose tackle at 17? Really? And now suddenly everybody's like, yeah, man, great. I'm glad we,
Hey, Joe, can I ask you, do you think the Giants are going to pick up DeAndre Baker's fifth-year option?
Dude,
That's part of the class.
Think about a draft that David Gettleman had where he had 3 first-round picks, and he whiffed on all 3 as far as adding superstars. Again, the Giants needed a lineman and an edge rusher. You got 2 stars. Then in a couple of years, you might be talking about superstars in this league. It's not often the Giants are in position to do that, to fill a spot like that. When's the last time the Giants, outside of Andrew Thomas, who obviously got off to a pretty rough start and didn't have necessarily a great beginning to his first year, a plug-in starter, day one star?
Yeah. Same with the Jets. Both
very few and far between.
Dad, you look at both of these teams. Usually these teams make questionable picks in the past, and you're just sitting here and you're like, you have competency not just in the Giants front office, but Joe Douglas is doing his thing, and he's doing a pretty good job with the New York Jets. So, and that's why another team like the Detroit Lions is another big winner from first round last night. That these teams that have been historically bad recently, it looks like they might be starting to figure it out. They're starting to have some sort of smart, intelligent people running those front offices now, where in the past, the Lions, we've seen them historically be bad. The Giants have been recently bad with picks. And then the Jets are the same way. Those are the 3 winners. And then the Eagles. What else do I have to say about, you just got one of the top 10, if healthy, receivers in the game. And for a team that needed a receiver, you get the most proven guy in this entire draft. Of all these players, you get the most proven guy. You already know what you're getting with A.J. Brown. So to see them get him, I think they truly wanted to go get Jamison Williams. But when he got off the board and got shockingly surprised, selected by the Detroit Lions, I think that was probably in the back pocket. So to see these 3 teams in the East Coast, if you really had to, guys, who are your winners from this draft? And if so, is it all from the East Coast? Go ahead.
I told you before that my 3 that off the top were for me were the Jets, Giants, and Baltimore. I just feel like Baltimore always finds a way to get the right pieces, and they just becoming stars. I love the 2 guys. Kyle Hamilton falls. Okay, he ran a bad 40 time, but 6'4", 215, 220 pounds, can play in the box, can play deep, can cover the tight ends, play running backs. You're going to add a lot of versatility to that defense. Okay, now you add the best center who, listen, you go back to his.
I can bet the Dallas Cowboys are going to be struggling. Don't know what we'll talk about them in a few minutes, though, too.
I think Linderbaum, listen, they say he's a little undersized, got small, short arms, but guess what? He did really well in high school and college in wrestling, his hand placement. They like to run the football. It all starts with the center position. He'll be a huge upgrade for the Ravens. But here's another team, the New Orleans Saints. You get your wide receiver, you move up, you go get Chris Olave, who might be the best route runner in this whole entire class with breakaway speed. And then you get your tackle in Trevor Penning. He comes in, he becomes a day one starter. You hit 2 positional needs. You help out Jameis Winston going forward. The Saints got to be happy. They still have to maintain their defense. That's a competitive team. They always give the Bucs, a run for their money. I mean, they match up really well. So for them personally, you got as a Saints fan, you got to like that. Listen, I liked a lot of people's drafts. I really did. Here's the funny thing: you like a lot of people. You look at like where do they fill? Do they fill needs? Do they high impact? Dallas gets Tyler Smith. They needed a tackle. Okay, Dallas feels the need. I mean, a lot of teams fill needs. The question will be, how do these guys pan out 2 to 3 years? What guy makes an immediate impact? Listen, we could talk about the Giants and Jets all day and beat the drum till there's nothing left. They hit on their marks. The Giants, Jets got what they needed. Here's the thing: they filled voids, and they filled them with high impact.
Hold on, I got to show you.
That's a check. That's a win-win. All right, the Saints did that. They get.
I got to show you this.
What do you got to show me?
This is it, guys. This is what we drafted.
Okay, I get it. At the end of the day, I don't care until they play and they put a real uniform on and they participate.
Just can't even be happy. Just going to be miserable.
No, I'm happy. That's great. They got selected.
I'm just happy from the standpoint. Look.
Listen, guess what? Maybe they don't pan out and the guys in the third and fourth round.
I get that. Look,
no one knows it ends up being the best
I said this at the beginning of the draft. I said this at the beginning.
Hold on. I literally just pointed out to you the last time the Giants had multiple picks in the first round. All 3 picks were immediately questioned as not being good choices.
Yes. Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence,
immediately. Hold on. That same day, DeAndre Baker was the best cornerback in a draft that didn't have any good cornerbacks.
Don't forget, Gettleman traded back into the first round to draft.
Right. For a guy who would have been there on the second day. Yeah. It was stupid. Those were all reaches, every single one of them.
Absolutely.
This is, again, 2 holes, and you just put 2
massive
college superstars in both of those holes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're almost guaranteed that both of these guys are going to give you 10, 12 years of all-pro level play. Now, again, that doesn't mean they're going to, because we've seen guys fail. But a lot of the times the guys that fail, not for nothing, are the Trayvon Walkers. And there's a reason why Hamilton fell. You bring up Ed Reed. You know how many other quarterbacks didn't run the 40 well and went on to become bums in this league?
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're looking for the production in school. There's a reason why, again, like Teddy said, this guy jumps really high and whatever, has great lateral movement. Who cares? What does that have to do?
My thing is, can they play the game
on the football field? Yes. Jermaine Johnson's problem was he was a JUCO guy, went to Georgia and was not great.
And went to Florida State.
And became the best player in the conference. And so there's reason for a little bit of skepticism.
But here's the thing with Jermaine Johnson. Can you understand why he did too great? Did you see the guys that were in front of him?
You see the guys that were at Georgia?
But guess what? I get what Joe's going to say.
It goes to show, right? When the talent level was here, he wasn't. And it came here, and then he shot up, and so you got to wonder what exactly. And again, maybe he's learned from it. Maybe going there and dominating guys, maybe that made him better. I don't know. That's all you can hope for. But listen, I think if you're a Giants fan, like Trevor said, Teddy, I know you're having a bad day, and that sucks, dude. But you're not understanding. I mean, again, if we could add a Lawrence Taylor to every draft, or an Andrew Thomas to every draft, if you could add a guy like that every draft, the guy that's going to give you 10, 15 years of production at like all pro-ish level, you would sign up for that all day.
Now, listen, I am excited because I'll just make this real quick. If I had to pick, other than Hutchinson, if I had to pick my pass rusher, it would be Thibodeau. Now, I know they talk about his bend movement in his hip. It's a little stiff. He doesn't have great handwork right now, but that's what coaching does. That's what coaching in the NFL. If you're a good coach, you make them better. Like Dable did with Josh Allen. Good coaching, like we've seen even in basketball. Look at the Celtics. Give it time. Let the coach do his work. Let him finesse the clay. Mold his players. If you're a good coach, you're going to maximize his talent. Michael Strahan comes down and works with Tibbs. And then, like you said, Trev, we talked about this. Neil is a monster, bro. I mean, he started over 40 games in his career for the best football program in college football. He's getting the best coaching. Okay, I understand a lot of Alabama linemen do not do great in the pros. Okay, doesn't mean every guy, like we talked about. Just because he's 0 for 30 against the pitcher, eventually he's going to get a hit. All right, he's 6'7", he's 333, he's got great athleticism. He played guard. Then as a junior, he started all the games at right tackle, and this year he went to left tackle. He only gave up 1 sack this season. Was at the end of the season. It was
the last play of the game in the national championship.
I think it was the last play of the national championship.
It was the last play of the national championship.
He thought they weren't even keeping track at
the end of the day. At the end of the day, Evan Neal actually played a better right tackle than he did left tackle in college. Okay. So he'll be a perfect fit for the Giants at right tackle. You have 2 young bookend SEC linemen. Andrew Thomas had a really good season, but he's still got to get better. He's not where I want him to be. Evan Neal is going to be a monster. Now you got your pinholes, Joe. You are locked in. You got your doors locked in. All right. You got receiver talent. I like the Giants. Hopefully, in the 3rd round, if the kid Trey McBride out of Colorado State's there, tight end, I'd love for them to take him in the 3rd round. I think that would be a nice pick. I think it's 91 overall. The Giants have that pick, or 67. Doesn't matter. Take the tight end. Get another defensive pick in the 2nd round. That pick at 36. But I love the two pieces that they got. I just hope they live up to the billing because Joe said it best. If I could just finish this in the last 5 seconds, we know this: where guys get selected is a big factor of how they progress as a pros. If you know what I mean, we've always talked. Why do some guys work for some teams and then other guys can't work? It's like what is the chemistry that's discombobulated between coaching and player? Is it the lack of talent? Is it the lack of coaching? Is it the lack of work ethic? You know what I mean? You see some guys like, why does this guy always work with Andy Reid? Or why doesn't this guy, when he goes to this team, he always fails? So that's my only question. Hopefully the Giants can get the most out of their talent because these 2 guys are exceptional talent.
Joe, you said it
best. They would have been the number 1 and 2 picks in the beginning of the college football
season. You said it best. Like, listen, we're not sitting here right now and saying that Evan Neal is going to become the next Jonathan Ogden or Kayvon Thibodeau is going to become the next Lawrence Taylor. We're not saying that. We're just basing this all off of projections. All these players, Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jordan Davis, Jamison Williams, all the guys that went to the teams that we feel like, Tyler Linderbaum, all these guys that we feel like went to teams that won the 1st round. It's all purely based on projection. We don't know how these players are going to be. But as a Giant fan, to see this image right here, to know that we have 2 guys that we desperately needed at 2 positions that we've been desperately wanting, to hit on those both. As a Giant fan, I'm ecstatic. Now, I don't know if it's going to pan out because it's all projection. But if I'm sitting here right now, these fans should be happy. And these fans should be happy alongside these fans should all be happy tonight after last night's. With the also adding the Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens. For me, those are teams that hit the home runs in the 1st round of the NFL draft. That's all I'm trying to say. I know I'm not jumping down like, oh, they're going to be all Hall of Famers. No, we don't know. Some of these guys may not pan out. But if I'm a Giant fan, you have competency. If you're a Jet fan, you have hope, both New York's teams. And if you're the Eagles fans, you just got a stud receiver that you needed to. You're on the cusp of trying to do great things, and you just did it last night. But when there's winners, there's always some losers. And in Vegas especially, we know about that. There's some winners always in Vegas, Ted, and there's always some losers. And last night, well, I'm going to do it again. And Ted might probably – and this is where me and Ted might have a huge argument right here. But Ted, with the Green Bay Packers, I'm going to ask you, were they once again – there were teams that had some questionable decisions. We get that. But were they once again losers of the 2022 NFL draft? Is this becoming an annual thing now? Like, realistically, is this becoming one of the questions?
They're not losers. They're not losers. They don't care what Aaron Rodgers wants. This is not about you. We're not making all the changes like Bucks did for Brady. We're not doing that. We're going to stick to our formula.
You sound then guess what? Keep losing. Keep losing.
Listen.
Good. That's why Brady's got to win. That's why Brady's got
The Packers have a formula for 20 straight years now, because you got to add this year. They have not selected a running back, receiver, or tight end in the first round.
How many Super Bowls have they won in that time period?
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. The other guys they've gotten is all pros. Greg Jennings.
Okay, but how
Nelson, Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb.
Second
and third round.
Answer the question.
They got two. They got picks now in the second and third round. You can go get a receiver in this round.
I'm asking you a question. How much is all that great talent that we just said? I know they've had great talent. I'm not saying that. How much is
Joe, I'm gonna steal this from you. If you're good enough, Joe, like you would say as a quarterback, make players better. If you're the superstar quarterback that you are, Aaron Rodgers, stop complaining. You don't need a number one. You can make other people. How did Tom Brady win all those Super Bowls with no number one receiver?
Because he's Tom
David
Brady.
Patton and David Givens and Little White Edelman, and then we got Wes Welker and this guy. That they didn't have a number one. Aaron Rodgers
because it's Tom Brady. There's a difference. You can't compare Brady and Rodgers because they're two different personalities. They're two different personalities.
Personality doesn't make a difference on the football field. Joe
Rodgers is a selfish player. He wants his big contract. Brady restructures contracts and tries to get players into his to win.
I get it, but who were they going to get at one of those picks that was going to change the franchise? Joe?
I'm not saying Ted. I'm not saying this. Okay, shut up.
They can go get a receiver in the second, third round. There's enough talent. Go get a George Pickens. Go get a Sky Moore. There's enough receivers. Go get the kid Watson out of North Dakota State.
Joe, I'll let you take it away because I can't even answer the damn question.
Okay, Ted, let me ask you a question.
Damn, man.
Who's the most important player on the Green Bay Packers?
Aaron Rodgers.
No shit.
Who is the most miserable quarterback in the NFL all the time?
Daniel
Say
Jones.
it, Ted. Huh?
What could you do yesterday? What could you have done yesterday with 2 picks in the first round that would have made a miserable quarterback who's the most important player on your team happy?
I don't care. This is not about
it's
him.
As simple as it is about him. It is about him.
How can you say it's not about him?
No, it's a business. It's about the franchise in the future.
But the investment they've made is in him, and if he's not happy, he's not going to be good.
His contract is literally, even though it's a 3-year contract, it's literally a 1-year deal every year. Every year.
Yeah, this very well could be the last year because they failed him again.
And how much is he getting paid, Ted? How much you getting paid a year? How could you gotta stop saying I don't care because you're just ignoring questions, bro.
I don't care about what he's making for money.
You're trying to push everything away.
Wait, hold on. If you're talking about the franchise, then you're talking about the most valuable commodity of said franchise. Who are we talking about? Aaron Rodgers. The answer to all these questions is going to be Aaron Rodgers. And the reason I'm asking these questions the way I'm asking them is because he's the most important part of that team. And he wants certain things. And you have to get those for him. It's like LeBron James. If you want LeBron to play on your team, you better go out and get the things he tells you to get.
Thank you.
Now, you could still run the team and you still make the picks you got to make, but when he tells you he wants something, you got to make sure you get it. And he's not very happy. He says he was surprised by the trade of Devontae Adams. That's not a good start.
Joe,
not a good start to this offseason.
And add to your point,
Joe, can I tell you something?
Hold on.
10 of the past 11 first-round picks for the Green Bay.
As I was going to say, to add to your point, I wanted to make, because I want to make a point, damn it. I'm trying to make a damn point. All I'm trying to say is, when you're in a league right now, that you've just seen an offseason, a historical offseason, you've seen Brady. He asked for weapons, they go get weapons. Matthew Stafford and the Rams, they go add weapons. The Chiefs, they go add weapons. The Raiders, they added weapons this offseason. The Chargers, they added weapons. They are trying to help their quarterbacks and their franchises to win a Super Bowl. And when the Packers, who have been right there the past couple years, literally, and for Guy, you just lost one of the best offensive players.
Here's the thing. It doesn't mean they didn't try. It doesn't mean they didn't try to trade up. The teams have to be willing to trade. Okay.
Well, you can't sit here, Ted.
Hold on. They couldn't go get AJ Brown because they didn't have the money financially to sign him. Okay. So they can't go get a veteran receiver. All right. And there was no Jamar Chase in this draft. There was no Jamar Chase. They weren't going to be able to get one of the 4 top guys. And when you had 6 receivers go by 18, what was it, 18? The first 18 picks, 6 of them receivers on the ball. There was no receiver at that time at 22 or 28 that was going to make that much of a difference. There was no need. So what do? You take value. They need help on the defensive line, okay? All they have, Kenny Clark. They need another pass rusher, interior D-line. You get the kid Devontae Wyatt.
They
Okay,
have
they lost to Darius Smith. They need another pass rusher. They need a guy
have two picks.
Quay Walker. Last
Okay.
year they questioned their pick about taking J.J. Stokes, the cornerback out of Georgia. How'd that pan out? He turned out
okay. How'd it pan out? What happened? What happened again?
Aaron Rodgers scored 7 points because he didn't want to throw to another receiver.
I'm not a defender of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. But they only scored 7 points, is because they shut down Devontae Adams at 49ers.
Yeah, but there was another guy wide open, and he didn't want to. That's Aaron Rodgers. When Valdez-Scalen's running across who's the other one that they have? The other big receiver that they have. The number 2, Valdez-Scantling. Who's the other one?
You talk away. Go ahead.
Do you remember the third down pass that he threw to double coverage down the middle of the field to Devontae, and the guy was running the underneath crossing route was wide open? That's Rodgers not hitting the open guy because he didn't trust him. That's on him. It's his fault that he scored 7 points, not because he didn't have receivers. It's called the quarterback make the right read.
But guess what now?
They scored on the first possession. Joe, we said it. Who do you blame? You blame Aaron Rodgers for you're supposed to score points, bro.
Well, guess what? Guess what now?
You couldn't beat Jimmy G, and you scored 7 points.
Well, guess what?
That's on Aaron Rodgers. Sorry,
now
be better.
Now you're coming into the Ted. That's fine. I get that, but now you're coming into this season with no Devontae Adams.
Okay, so go draft some receivers now.
The question is, okay, that's fine, but you had 2 first-round picks, and you didn't take a receiver with one of them.
Sure, because the difference between who they were going to take at 22 and 28 is still going to be there in the second and third round when they have multiple picks, and they have a succession plan. They have great. We talk about the Giants. Joe was saying, how many times do the Giants miss on their picks early? Every time it feels like if you look for years, how many times did the Giants miss on their first-round pick? You know what the Packers have? They did a report. The Packers get the most value from players rounds 3 to 7 since 2011. It's incredible. They have Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Devontae. They were all second and third round picks. They were all pros. So guess what? If they get a guy in the second or third round of receiver, they pick up 2 receivers, I guarantee one of them is going to make the Pro Bowl in the next 3 years. And it's going to be an all-pro for 10 years because that's what the Packers do.
My whole argument about this.
I get what you're saying. You need to put talent around and make them happy. But at the end of the day, there was no one there at 22.
They all got great talent. They all got great talent. I get that. They've been exceptional during their tenures as football.
Who would you have drafted? I'm asking you. Who would you have drafted at 22?
I'll tell you what I would have done if I was the Packers early in this draft. I would have traded one of my 2 first-rounders to move up.
What if the teams weren't willing to trade back? You got to have
I'm sure. It looked like people were willing to move.
There was 9 trades last night. You tell me if teams weren't trying to trade back.
I mean, here's the thing. Have you read any reports about the Packers, what they offered, what they tried to? Did they try to move up?
We don't know any. We probably won't know.
It says right here that
I hope they tried.
Joe, all I was trying to say is that you have one of those picks. I know there's not a home run threat maybe at that point, but to just go get a weapon for a guy that's been asking for something, and on top of it, to lose the best offensive player maybe in all of football, to not add that. I know they got draft picks, but also I have to make this argument. Final point about this before I talk about the other couple teams. When you're on the cusp of trying to win a Super Bowl and you've been at the top of the pinnacle for that long, like right there, aren't you trying to make that leap like the other teams instead of
I think they have a big board.
To one championship. All those great talents.
I think you have a big board, and when 6 receivers, who I don't think the Packers thought all 6 receivers were going to go, right? And say you got your big board, and you got your top 50, right? In your first round, you got your 50, right? Your 6 receivers are within the top 30, right? And then they go, right? And you're looking at your draft going, damn, the 6 receivers that one of them we wanted can't get them. Our next tier of receivers is somewhere in the second and third round, but we got 10 defensive guys at 1 through 10, and the next receiver that we want is 12, 15, and 18. Are you really going to go get the receiver that you have 12 on your board over 10 guys that fill a need that can be an immediate, impactful defensive player for you? I mean, that's my question. If you're the GM of the Packers and your next 8 to 10 guys on your big board are defensive-minded guys, maybe there was a tackle there, and they didn't take the tackle, or something they wanted.
But Joe,
right? And I had them taking Tyler
receivers of need right there.
But if you're first 8 guys are not a receiver on your, I'm asking both. If you got your rankings, right? And the first 8 guys are not receivers because you're the 6 that you wanted already gone. Are you going to take the 9th guy on your board just because you want to make your quarterback happy? Or are you going to take the guy who's number
like the
1
Patriots did.
Well,
strange. That's a strange pick.
Yeah.
Right there.
Here's the thing, Jeff. They did that last year. Remember, they took the safety in the 2nd round. They drafted out, and they took the safety. It was a Division II kid. Remember, they took
great. Actually, I forgot. Oh, Kyle. What's his
Chin?
name?
Was it Chin?
No. Chin went to Carolina. That was. Oh, I know who you're talking about. He's actually been pretty good.
But last year we questioned the thing. He was a real. He had real.
Duggar. Kyle Duggar.
He produced.
I think.
But we were questioning. It's like, why did they get him like at 36 when he would have been there like 50 or?
I know.
Listen, my thing is, the Patriots live on a whole different planet than everyone else. Okay, they do. They're the only team that like.
No, you know what they're doing? They're taking a break from dominating the NFL for the past 20 years. They're like, you know what? There you go, guys. You take over, have some fun. We already did our thing. Nobody's gonna ever do what we replicated. Close out. Any other teams? I know the Packers. We just talked very extensively about. Yeah, wins championships. I get that. Their defense has been great, though. The Packers' defense has been very, very good. Has been a major hit for them. They got to score points. You got to score points.
Defense wins championships, but the Green Bay Packers defense doesn't win championships.
Yeah.
Their defense isn't that great, and
their defense has been good, Joe.
It's slow down. Is it the 85 Bears? Is it the 2022 Rams? I mean, be serious. Is it the 86 Giants? It's not.
No,
so
but again, they are.
Again, well, but again, listen, the Ravens of the 2000s, that was a defense that won championships. Let's not mistake defenses that win championships as opposed to teams with a really good defense and a great offense. So because that's what wins championships in the NFL we're currently living in.
So the Green Bay Packers defense, rankings by defense. They were the 3rd-rated defense last year.
That's what I'm saying. They got a really good defense. So why? Okay, you just said the defense wins championships, Sander.
Well, it better win a championship now because we know Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the weapons to do it. Yeah. Hopefully the defense can.
Any other teams that you saw after the first round that made you head scratch? A strange pick.
I mean, the Patriots because of what they did. Here's another thing. So if we're gonna have this question, right, about Green Bay, why don't you have the question about Kansas City?
I was gonna say the same thing. I think the Chiefs go and get McDuffie at 21 is a great pick. I don't like that they I didn't get a receiver.
They went both defense. Now I understand.
Yeah, that's a team that I don't think George Karlaftis. Yes, they needed edge rusher help. But I think a Pickens right there could have been available. I mean, I think George Pickens, we're just talking about receivers. George Pickens, if he doesn't tear his ACL early in the season, we're talking about him possibly being another top 10 receiver in this draft. That's how talented George Pickens was with the Bulldogs. So that's what I'm trying to say is that you still had a guy like George Pickens, a guy like Christian Watson. I know Sky Moore, who's not the biggest guy.
Hey, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Breaking news, Trevor Bauer just got suspended for 2 more seasons.
2 more seasons? Wow.
Yep.
So Trevor Bauer's done. His career is over. He'll never come back and step foot on a diamond again. I got one team that I did not like to pick, and hear me out and think about this. I did not like the Commanders taking Jahan Dotson. I didn't like it. And the reason I say that, they already have a guy on their roster exactly like this. I like him. Another Big Ten guy, Curtis Samuel. Literally the same type of weapon. Now, I know that Olave, all these guys were gone. By the way, I love the Saints going to get Chris Olave. I think that was a really good pick. I know Jameson Williams. But I did not like Washington going to get Jahan Dotson. I wasn't a fan of it. I mean, I feel like they could have used offensive line help, maybe a guard. They lost Schriff in the offseason to Jacksonville. So I feel like they could have won offensive line. I know they needed receivers, but was Dotson the number 1 guy on their board at the time? I didn't like that pick. At Green Bay, I wasn't a fan of. I love Quay Walker. I think he's going to be an absolute stud in this league. But just to not get a receiver at one of those picks, Kansas City not getting a receiver at one of those picks, like teams that needed – I know they filled needs. Like the Chiefs filled defensive needs. They were not a good defensive team either. Green Bay filled needs defensively. But for 2 teams that lost major contributors, major weapons on your team, you have to somehow – you're not going to get it all back in return that quickly. but you have to slowly try to get back to that piece. And it's a huge piece that both of those teams got rid of, Joe. So that's me for, I don't know if you have another loop, if you have a team that you really didn't like their first round, but to me, those are like some
I'll tell you, yeah, I've got one, and it's I don't know that it's as an obvious pick, but I think Drake London to Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, who's throwing to him?
Marcus Mariota, baby.
Right. I mean, you're giving Marcus Mariota weapons. Your defense is still god-awful. To me, taking Kyle Pitts last year,
that's
only to unload Matt Ryan, was stupid. Atlanta has shed a lot of good offensive players. They've lost a lot of defensive players.
Yeah.
Like, they're adding great talent. Again, you're looking, teams are like the Giants, again, 2 glaring needs, and they fill those.
I feel like not Seattle. I feel like if Thibs was there at 8, I feel like that could have been the pick. But I know that they don't have a receiver, Joe. They don't have other than Kyle Pitts and Cordell Patterson, they don't even have any
that's their own problem, though. That's their own fault. And again,
it's not their fault that their number 1 receiver at the time decided to go say, hey, let's go throw some money.
Listen, I also like the pick because whatever happens with McLaurin,
I just saw what Sanders said. It's a good point.
But I understand he's small.
You got priorities. I just thought you had bigger priorities right now. If I were them, I would have traded back. Again, hey, Packers, you want to make a move here at 8? I'll take those the 2 picks in the 20s. I need to add a lot of players.
Yes.
That would have made a lot of sense. I understand. Listen, if you think Drake London is going to be the next great receiver, then of course.
Yes.
Pitts last year, get it. He's a top shelf tight end, but you've got more immediate and glaring needs. And again, you're asking Marcus Mariota, a guy who hasn't started in several seasons now.
Mm-hmm.
What? Your offensive line is terrible. I don't know. I think when you're picking premium shelf talent, you got to have a line and someone to throw to these guys. This team is building like in a weird way. I get the idea of, maybe you feel like generational talent, 6'4", 219. That's a big guy.
Let's be honest. They screwed themselves last year, like you said, when they took Pitts over one of the quarterbacks. They could have taken Fields. They could have taken Mac. Realistically, Fields could have been the pick right there. Atlanta guy. And they took Pitts because they felt like they're going to run it. And you just said it. They're going to try to run it back with Matt Ryan. That run back, I guess, was only for a year.
Well, I also think that they thought they were going to have Calvin Ridley or traded him, and then you would have Ridley him, and you could have went with an offensive lineman or a defensive player.
Ted, who's a team that you didn't really like from their first round that was maybe thinking head scratching? What do you think? I didn't like the Texans' second pick.
Kenyon Green. I would have went somewhere different. I thought that was a little early.
If you had to pick,
I was looking. So the Packers have the 53rd and 59th pick. I think they got to come up and either get Sky Moore or Watson. So I think, and because I was just going through the draft, by the time they go, I think both of those guys will be off the board, and I think they're going to have to either package one of those picks to come up to go get one of the.
Tell me if I'm wrong on this, guys. Big loser last night. Tennessee Titans.
No.
How do you got? You just got rid of a top 10 receiver.
And I think the kid that's going to come in is fill his void easily.
Did you see they only offered him?
He's the same type of guy, big, strong, physical, almost like identical type of body. He's got now you're saving $100 million because you decided to pay Ryan.
Trev,
he's not that good and he gets hurt. AJ Brown. I
was gonna say, listen, I've got him on a couple of my fantasy teams. Guy's barely ever in the lineup.
When he is,
you just got a guy who projects to be a similar player to him, who's younger and healthier, who's making a ton less money. I think this is let someone else pay AJ Brown, and we'll get the next AJ Brown.
And you got another pick. And you got another pick out of it.
This is right. And Teddy, this is a league that favors that sort of receiver. So, he steps right into a perfect situation.
Yeah, and here's the thing. He hasn't played a full season since he's been in the league. All right. I understand he's really good. He's physical, but you're going to get the same guy in Treylon Burks. You and me, Trev, he's almost the same body projections. Physical. He's a physical, hard nose. He's got speed. You save the money. I get it. He hasn't done squad douche in the league yet. And you know what?
You're taking a chance.
We'd rather take a guy, but we also understand the NFL is a business, right? When you pay Ryan Tannehill the money you pay him, when you're paying Derrick Henry, when you're paying Taylor Lewan, when last year they gave Bud Dupree the big money, when you Kid Bird, the safety, you have to make some business decisions. They offered him up to $20 million with incentives per year. Bless you. It's not enough.
Bless you.
All right. There wasn't you had to make a decision. Yeah. I get it. It wasn't the ideal situation. Just like when we're talking about trading away Bradbury, who was an impactful corner, or trading away Kadarius Toney, who we saw when he played. It's
but they didn't want
But we were at the point as Giants going, all right, you want to trade Saquon? Let's see what the most we can get from him.
Yeah, but they offered him $16 million.
I told you last night, what if the Giants said, oh, here's Kansas City or Green Bay, give me the 28th pick, I'll give you Toney. Now, am I going to get a Toney at the 28th pick? Probably not. But, I get another first-round pick where I could fill another significant role. That's why I'm surprised, like, the Packers haven't gone, or someone said, Giants, here, we'll give you the Chiefs, here you go. Give me the 20th or the 30th pick. We'll give you the pick. We'll take Kadarius Toney. Maybe teams didn't feel the value that Giants said. Debo's not getting traded.
Guess not. The Jets offered them the 10th and another draft pick, and the 49ers declined. So it looks
49ers are not trading him, bro. How are you going to trade him when Trey Lance is going to be – you're going to trade your best asset when you're getting a rookie quarterback to start.
No, I get that. It's just when a guy doesn't want to be somewhere,
he'll be there he'll be there. He'll be fine. They'll work it out.
I know. Ted knows everything. That's why he should predict the future.
He's not getting traded.
He just sits here and just says, I don't care. I know everything's going to go my way.
Here's the thing. After this, they got to sign all the rookies. So that means the salary cap is on. Who are you going to trade for now? They're not going to trade players because you can't trade, and you can't trade draft picks. The draft's over, bro. So I want your second and thirds? No, bro. I wanted multiple first rounds because they don't have a first round this year and they don't have a first round next year because they trade away. So what, you're going to give me picks next year? No, that doesn't help me now when I got Trey Lance.
We're going to give him a damn Reggie bar. That's what we're going to give him. No, but there's a lot could happen tonight. We could be seeing a lot of trades. We're going to see what happens with the whole Baker Mayfield situation too, because that is a name to keep an eye on. James Bradbury. The whole Lamar Jackson thing gets a little more intriguing too. So
also, does Baker Mayfield get traded tonight?
Ted doesn't listen, Joe. Ted does not listen. I literally just said that 2 seconds ago. Didn't listen. Ted, do better. Be better.
Joe, were you shocked Malik Willis did not get drafted?
I was, especially. Although, listen, I get Pickens. I think kind of like with Hutchinson, keeping
Pickett.
Whatever his name is. I don't like that kid. I don't like him at all, I'll be quite honest, dude. He did that dirty move where he faked the slide. Yeah. Okay. I don't like people like that. He's just got a dishonest character behind. I don't know. Listen, Malik Willis, we know what's wrong with him. He's short and
he's not that short.
Hey, Drew Brees fell to the second round in a similar situation because of his height. So it happens.
You know who's got the first pick? Don't call me crazy. Don't be surprised. But the first pick tonight is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Don't know if maybe they shock everybody. They go maybe defense, but don't be surprised if they want to say, hey, Tom Brady's not going to be here forever. Could use a backup quarterback. I know they took Kyle Trask last year, but we'll see how that works out. There's a lot of great talent still available in this second round, but we got to keep an eye on what Baker Mayfield, James Bradbury. You got guys like Kobe Dean, Malik Willis, Andrew Booth, Breece Hall, Arnold Epiketti, David Ojabo, Kyler Gordon, Bo Meth, and Christian Watson, Sky Moore. That's the top 10 players still available. So the Giants are going to get a possible first-round projected player and a solid possible starter.
It better be on the defensive side of the ball.
I'm hoping it goes defense, maybe safety, corner, maybe add another edge rusher, maybe linebacker. We need a linebacker or two. Nakobe Dean is still available. This is a big draft, a second and third round. We're going to see possibly a lot of trades, maybe some big names, Baker Mayfield. All in all, it's a home run for the East Coast in round one. A hell of a draft, a historical draft to just adding to an already historical offseason. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we will be back Monday to recap all of the NFL draft. How does Big Blue finish? How does Big Green finish? How about the Eagles? How about does the Packers trade up? A lot to unrail in the next coming days. So I cannot wait.
Unreal.
Unreal. I like to use words too, Ted. Random words.
Joe, unreal. We like to unrail.
But we will talk also next week. We will talk.
Hey, flip that switch on behind you. Maybe it'll help your brain out. Turn the light on.
It's a little cloudy right now. It's getting cloudy.
Turn the switch on behind you. There's a switch behind your head.
Oh, I know.
Maybe the light.
Yes, we'll be back talking baseball next week. How the New York Yankees have maybe found their groove. The New York Mets, boy oh boy, New York fans loving right now what's going on. The New York Rangers hockey playoffs starting next week, and they got the NBA playoffs. Get the top 4 Eastern Conference teams. A lot going on right now in sports, but we're going to be back next week.
A rough start to the week for New York sports with those damn Nets, huh?
Who, the Nets?
Yeah.
Who cares? I'm glad they're gone. That's a plus. That's it. Joe, you're a Knicks fan. You should be happy.
That's a New York sports team, though.
No,
It's a New York sports team.
Forget about it. Thank God they lost. I was actually rooting for the Celtics. I'm not a Boston guy, but I was rooting for the Celtics to win. I do not like the Brooklyn Nets at all. I did not want to. That was the one team I did not want to see advance or get.
Oh, I forget you're a Lakers fan.
No, I am what the hell was this? What was that?
Yeah, you're a Lakers fan. I got it.
What does this mean?
No, nothing. What do you mean? What do I mean? I forgot you're a Lakers fan.
Are you saying I'm a fake Laker fan?
No, a Lakers fan.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Teddy, you know what I'm saying.
I'm not a LeBron fan, if that's what you're saying. I'm not a LeBron fan.
The Lakers.
I'm a Kobe guy. I'm a Kobe guy. Come on, Teddy. Back the brother up. Back the little brother up.
Yeah, he's a Kobe guy.
Kobe.
Joe doesn't believe me.
You are a Lakers fan.
Joe, do I have to get back the picture of you holding a football again and showing the youngsters how to hold a football properly?
I mean, hey,
What? What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, but this is where, as much as last night's draft was fun and interesting,
it's always
and spectacle, this is where you get your money makers. Second, third, and then tomorrow, fourth, fifth. That's where you're gonna get your real value of this teams. And that's where the Texans still have 11 picks.
That's crazy.
Which is incredible. Which means, though, you got flexible move. They're not going to make all 11 picks, but for a team that needs a lot of, you can go and now you pick the guys that you want and you go trade up and get them.
Well, we'll see. There's a lot of great talent at the top of their second round. So we'll see. The Giants have 36. The Jets have 38. The Buccaneers starting off tonight. We'll see what they do. Do they go quarterback? Do they shock people and go Malik Willis? Or do they add to the defense where they do need help in the interior and secondary as well? A lot happening. A lot's going on in sports right now. Hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs, Yankees, Mets, baseball's running high. And now we got the NFL draft. What a time, like I always say, to be a sports fan. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So comment, like, subscribe, or share. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.